What is the authority in your life, right? The author of your story. Is it you? Are you free? Like at what point are we slaves, right? Because I think that we're all born with a debt, right? That we can't really pay off. And then everything that we do is under this umbrella of control, right? Now, there isn't really any legitimacy within the government, within these authorities, right? There's no accountability, legitimacy, like a ledger, right? An accountant holds to account. There is none, right? There is no accountability for actions. There's been no accountability for anyone within the government, within these corporations, and all that fun. Every once in a while, somebody gets in trouble, but they are far and few between. And so, at what point are the people responsible for allowing this, right? Because if you just assume these figures as authority figures, right, you are saying that they are responsible for you, your character, you as an entity, right? You can slave away, you can provide your children to be the next generation of serfs, right? The next generation of slaves, right? Like, let's say you got two people. If I own both of them, and all of the product of their labor, right? 100% of it. They are slaves, right? They have to do what I tell them. Otherwise, men with guns will put them in cages, right? But let's say I really like one of them. So he can keep half of his work, half of his labor. Is he still a slave? The other guy's got to give me 100%. Is the other guy any less of a slave? What if he only has to give me 25%? Is he still a slave? 1%, 5%. Now, that might not be a lot, but if he doesn't give it to me, men with guns will come and put him in a cage or kill him, right? At the end of the day, that is the racket, right? That is the extortion. You do what I say or else, right? Because power becomes authority, right? Because power can force, it can enforce. And as long as it can enforce, it can assume the role of the authoritative figure. Now, governments for the most part started out as a racketeering type setup, right? Little villages pay homage to a king. Maybe they do some taxes, donate crops, right? If there's a battle, they got to donate sons. And in turn, this king would protect them from bandits. It would protect them from neighboring nations, right? And so it was really just a big, well, I got a military, so you give me food, I'll sort you out. Nice village you have here. It'd be a shame if something happened to it, you know? And so as things evolved, as things developed, obviously you get into economics and insurances and corporations and religion. Let's not forget all that fun, right? So like, at what point does a stream become a river, right? At what point are we no longer free? And who is going to be held accountable? Because the only way that I see it is that we have to hold ourselves accountable. And now you see a lot of memes joking around about become ungovernable, all this other fun, right? And now, of course, you have the freedom rallies, the truck drivers, and that's beautiful, right? Because there's a displacement of value in our society, right? We've placed value on currency, on money, and how much money you can acquire. We don't place value on your contribution to society, right? And so these people who make considerable amount of money compared to truck drivers or plumbers or electricians or whatever it be, the blue collar backbone of the nation type jobs, right? These are the people who have the real power, but they don't utilize it, right? Because without them, the system doesn't function, right? That is kind of the Mexican standoff type situation. Well, without us, you don't have any money. Well, without us, you don't have anything. And so that is kind of the position that it needs to be taken in, right? Because all the power that the government has and all the power that any authoritative figure has is the power that is surrendered to them by the people that they reign over, right? The king is given power by his soldiers, and the soldiers' loyalty is what overall determines the power of the king, right? His subjects' loyalty, right? You can have civil wars, you can have strifes, you can have the tearing down of the king, right? Machiavelli talks about the establishment of the prince being the rich exalt the qualities and the virtue of one of their own in order to better exploit the peasantry, or the peasantry elevate one of their own, right? And talk about their bravery and loyalty and whatever fine attributes of the time are idolized in order to protect them from the nobility and the rich, right? So like we're supposed to have the media, and we're supposed to have different protections, right? Different levies, right? The way the government's stacked, it's supposed to be tiered, right? We have the legislative, the executive, and the court system, right? But like the Supreme Court's established by the legislative branch and the executive branch, so like they're going to put people in that gives them more power. So like the whole dynamic, the whole power structure of our country has been devastated. Not to mention the people are very dependent on the government, the handouts that come with it, right? And so when you have that, now you have a real constricting of the people's power, right? Because now they depend on the government for existence, right? Back in World War One, World War Two, right? There were war bonds. The government was bailed out by the people, right? The people had to support the war effort in order to pay for it, right? They had to enlist, they had to go through, right? And then you see the catastrophe with this whole COVID nonsense, and the people are getting bailed out by the governments, right? So it can just show you in a couple generations how much the power can be stripped away from the people. And I think that's a very important lesson that people need to pay a little bit more attention to. And a lot of people are waking up to it, for sure, which is a beautiful thing. You know, you got the freedom rallies and the truck drivers, and they're taking back the power that belongs to the people. It's always been sitting there. It's just the inaction, right? But everybody gets caught into their own little dynamic, and there are a lot of powers stacked against them. So I think that what we need to do is become our own authorities, at least to an extent, not in a malicious or greedy way, right? Not in vindictive. We don't need to be holding grudges or whatever else. We can hold people accountable. There definitely are those that are more accountable than others. But on the grand scale of things, we need to take back our power. We need to start holding people to account, and we need to start with ourselves, right? If we need to find the guilty, should only look in the mirror, right? But, all right, we got more in common with each other than those who want us to fight. I haven't made videos in a little while. Had to think and meditate and get through just some stuff in general. It's a new year. It's exciting, right? My birthday in a couple days. All right. Have fun. Wish you the best of luck. Love you.